Welcome to Loksatta Yashasvi Bhava. Today we'll start with the maths topic, quadratic equations. That's chapter number 4 from your Algebra textbook. Now, talking about quadratic equations, let us understand what it is. The equations of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0, where a, b and c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. Moreover, x is a variable, then we say that this equation is a quadratic equation. I repeat, an equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0 such that a, b, c all three are real numbers, a is not equal to 0 and x is a variable, then we say such an equation is a quadratic equation. How do you identify a quadratic equation? You identify it by seeing the degree. The highest degree of a quadratic equation is always 2. Now, while solving a quadratic equation, there are different methods of doing it. Let us understand the methods one by one. Type of problems in general that you have in your textbook are: first, classifying the form of quadratic equations. Second, one root is given and you have to find the other root or the other variable. Third, methods of solving quadratic equations. There are various methods, as I earlier said. There are 4 methods in all, and the last part is the word problems. So if you see, your textbook is divided into 4 main categories. You have to classify the quadratic equations. Second, one root is given and you have to find the other root or the other variable. Third, methods of solving the quadratic equations. There are 4 methods: factorization method, formula method, perfect square method and substitution method. And the last part is the word problems. The chapter ends with word problems. Now, let us see the first part, that is classifying the quadratic equations. Normally, when we are given an equation, it becomes important for us to classify the equation whether it's quadratic or not. So, as I told you earlier, there are certain conditions. What are the conditions? All three, a, b and c, have to be real numbers. It should be of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0. A should not be 0 and x should be a variable. Now, based on it, we have some sums here. Let us see type 1. Classify the quadratic equations. Now here you are given a quadratic equation 3m square plus 2 is equal to 5m. Though it is disarranged, let us arrange it and find out. So the first question you should ask yourself is it of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0? Yes, it is. If you shift this position of 5m on this side, you get 3m square minus 5m plus 2 equal to 0. Therefore, it is of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0. Type 1, classify the quadratic equations. Now, if you see the equation given here, 3m square plus 2 is equal to 5m. Let us ask ourselves whether it's a quadratic equation or not. So let us ask some questions. First, is it of the form ax square plus bx plus c? Now, normal conditions, we may not get a proper format. So we have to arrange it. So I have arranged here. I have shifted this 5m on this side. So we get here 3m square minus 5m plus 2. That means it is of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0. That means, yes, it is of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0. Now the second question you will have to ask yourself is the highest degree of the equation 2? The answer is yes, it is. Because we have got 3m square plus 2 equal to 5m, the highest degree or the highest power here is 2. Third question that I want to ask is the first term, that is the first constant that is given to you, is 0. Is the value of a 0? The answer is no. The value of a is 3 here. That means it is a quadratic equation. So for an equation to be a quadratic equation, there are three conditions. Ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0, it should be of this form. Secondly, the highest degree should always be 2. Thirdly, the value of a should not be 0. Now let us solve one more of the same type just to clear some doubts in case you have. If you see this equation, 2y cube plus y square minus 3 equal to 2y cube minus 2y. Now here we can cancel 2y cube and 2y cube from both sides. What will remain is y square minus 3 equal to minus 2y. I shift minus 2y on this side. So we get y square plus 2y minus 3 equal to 0. Now let us ask the same questions again. First, is it of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0? Yes, it is. Is the highest degree 2? Yes, it is. Is the value of a equal to 0? No. The value of a is 1. Therefore, it is a quadratic equation. Now, let's add something else for our information. If you see the third equation here, which we have written, n minus 9 equal to 1 upon n square. I multiply both sides by n square. Some teachers here, instead of multiplying both sides by n square, they say cross multiply. So we cross multiply here. When we cross multiply, we get m square into m, that is m cube, m square into 9, that is minus 9m square, and here 1 remains. What we do is, we shift the position of 1. So we get m cube minus 9m square minus 1 equal to 0. Now let us ask the same question again. Is it of the form ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0? No, it is not. Because here we have a cubic equation. It is not a quadratic equation. So this type of sums can be expected in your question paper. Now talking about further, let's go on to the second type of the sum, type 2 sums. Now for the type 2 sums here, to find another root or the variable, here we have to find another root or the variable when one root is given. If you see here, let us read the question here. If m is equal to 3 is one root of the equation 3m square minus 15m plus 2p equal to 0, find the value of p. So here we have to find the value of the variable p. Let us see the correct method or the solution. Here, since m is equal to 3 is the root of the quadratic equation, this value has to satisfy this equation. Now very often what I could understand is, when the teacher says satisfying the equation, the child doesn't understand it. So let us see a different way of making the things. Satisfying means when I say m equal to 3, I put the value in this equation. Now if you see, since m is equal to 3 is the root of the equation, it satisfies the equation. That means I put the value of m as 3. Here I get 3. Instead of m we write 3 square minus 15 into 3 plus 2p equal to 0. 3 square is 9. 9 3s are 27 minus 15 3s are 45 plus 2p is equal to 0. Normally I find that students commit silly mistake here. The silly mistake that they do is simple arithmetic algebraic additions or subtraction. Sometimes a student carries a mistake. So please avoid that. Here 27 minus 45 plus 2p is equal to 0. 27 minus 45 is minus 18. I repeat, minus 18. Some students by mistake write here 18. So minus 18 plus 2p is equal to 0. We shift this minus 18 on this side. We get a positive 18 here. So 2p is equal to 18. Therefore the value of p is 18 upon 2. 18 upon 2 is nothing but p is equal to 9. So dear friends, what we saw is two types of sums, that is how to classify the quadratic equations, and secondly, if one root is given, how to find the other variable or the root. Now, moving on to solving quadratic equations. As I had said earlier, quadratic equations can be solved by 4 methods. First one, factorization method. Second one, formula method. Third one, perfect square method. And the fourth is substitution method. Now, let us talk about factorization method. Now here, if you see factorization method, dear children, there are 2 ways of doing it. First, if the value of a, that is the first constant, is 1. Second, if the value of a is greater than 1. So let us see both the ways of doing. Here, if you see this quadratic equation, x square plus 10x plus 24 is equal to 0. Here the value of x square, that is the coefficient of x square, is 1. When nothing is given here, students, it's 1 here. So x square plus 10x plus 24 is equal to 0. As you have already learned in 9th standard, splitting the middle term, that is, we have split 10x into 4x and 6x. Now, here we take x common. Here, out of 6x plus 24, we take 6 common. So we get x plus 4 and x plus 4 here. So common factors in one bracket, non-common factors in other bracket. So x plus 6, x plus 4 is equal to 0. X plus 6 is equal to 0, or x plus 4 is equal to 0. Here we shift 6 on this side, therefore we get x equal to minus 6 or x is equal to minus 4. Solution set is minus 6 comma minus 4. As I told you earlier, factorization method, there are 2 ways. I repeat, a is equal to 1 and a is greater than 1. We have done it for a is equal to 1. Now, let us see what happens when a is greater than 1. Students, if you compare these 2 equations here, here we had the value of a as 1, here we have the value of a as 7. Now, that's greater than 1. So the quadratic equation is 7x square plus 4x minus 20 is equal to 0. 7x square plus 4x minus 20 is equal to 0. What do you do in this case? You multiply the first coefficient to the last one. 7 into minus 20 is minus 140. Now, 1 minus 140 is nothing but 14 into minus 10. Why do we take it as 14 into minus 10? Yes, of course, it is splitting the middle term again. 14 minus 10 is middle term, 4. So we take 14 into minus 10 and not any other number, as we all know it. Now here, 7x square plus 14x minus 10x minus 20 is equal to 0. We have split 4x into 14x and 10x minus 10x. Now here, we take 7x common, we get x plus 2. We take minus 10 common, we get x plus 2 is equal to 0. So, common factors in one bracket, non-common factors in other bracket. So, we get 7x minus 10 in one bracket, x plus 2 in other bracket. 7x minus 10 is equal to 0 or x plus 2 is equal to 0. If we take x is equal to 10 upon 7 or we take x equal to minus 2. Therefore, the solution set is 10 upon 7 comma minus 2. This is nothing but the roots of the equation. Normally, the values that we get in solution set is considered to be the roots of the quadratic equation. So students, we learned just now the first method of solving quadratic equation. So, if you see, the first method was factorization, second method was formula method, third method is perfect square method, and the fourth one is substitution method. We are talking about the second method, that is the formula method now. So students, please see here. Formula method: for a quadratic equation, n square minus 3m minus 10 equal to 0. Let us compare it with the normal method, general method of quadratic equation. an square plus bm plus c equal to 0. I would like to remind some students here that there is a mistake that normally students do it in the board examination. Let us see what that mistake is. When we write here comparing with general form an square plus bm plus c equal to 0, some students by mistake write ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0. Remember that the variable what is given in the quadratic question should be used always in general form also. But what happens is, if the question says in terms of n, you cannot write comparing with terms of x. So please remember that you don't commit this mistake. If the question says about n, you write n here. If the question says about x here, you write x here. Now here, an square plus bm plus c is equal to 0. That gives you a is equal to 1, b is equal to minus 3, c is equal to minus 10. You have to consider the negative numbers. Some students forget to consider the negative numbers here. Now, let's consider b square minus 4ac. Consider the value for b square minus 4ac. Now here, b is minus 3. So instead of b, we write minus 3 the whole square minus 4 into a. A's value is 1 and c value is minus 10. So here, minus 3 square is 9. Minus into minus is plus. 4 ones are 4. 4 tens are 40. So we get 49 here. We take the square root of b square minus 4ac. Square root of b square minus 4ac is 7. B, use the formula method. The formula method says the value of variable, that is n here. It can be x, it can be n, it can be y. Whatever the value of variable in the question, that value will come here. This is the second place where the students normally commit mistake. Here, by mistake, the child writes x. For anything and everything, the child writes x. So please remember that whatever the value of the question, whatever the variable in the question, you have to use that same variable here. Now here, since the question says variable m, we'll write m here. So m is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a. I repeat, m is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a. Now, the third place that I normally find mistakes while checking papers is here. The square root sign is to be shown longer. Some students, in a hurried way, when they do the sum, the square root sign, they show it to b square, but they forget to show it to ac. Mind you, it is a mathematical mistake, and so it's a big one. Now here, instead of b, let us check the value of b here. B is minus 3. I put the value of b as minus 3 here, plus or minus square root of 49. B square minus 4ac is 49. Now here, and 2 upon 2 into a. A value is 1. A value is 1 here. So 2 ones are 2. Now minus into minus plus 3 plus or minus square root of 49 is 7. So we get 3 plus or minus 7 upon 2. So therefore we get m is equal to 3 plus 7 upon 2, or m is equal to 3 minus 7 upon 2. 3 plus 7 is 10. 10 upon 2 is 5. Therefore m is equal to 5, or 3 minus 7 is minus 4. Minus 4 upon 2 is minus 2. Therefore the solution set is 5 comma minus 2. Now one more thing that I would like to add here is this type of questions can be asked in a shorter form for 2 marks. Normally formula method comes for 3 or 4 marks, but this type of sum can be asked in a shorter version. Let's see what the version could be. They would ask you to find the discriminant means to find the value of b square minus 4ac. That is, you have to find the discriminant. Discriminant, if the question demands or asks only discriminant, please see to it that you solve up till here, because the value of discriminant is nothing but the value of b square minus 4ac. So the question can be solve formula method or find the value of discriminant. If they have told you to find the value of discriminant, that means they have asked only to find out b square minus 4ac. So dear friends, today out of the two ways, factorization method and formula method is over. Now the remaining two methods, that is perfect square method and substitution method, we will talk about next time. Thank you.